Hello, beautiful souls. I wanted to come on here and talk about one of the greatest obstacles that I face as an artist, and that is moving through my own resistance. And the best way for me to explain this is actually to use parallels in life. So, for example, in life, if you're having a lot of resistance around something, for me, a lot of times it'll be having a hard conversation. That resistance is coming from a belief that I have about how that is going to go or what it means to have or do that thing. So for me, with hard conversations, I assume that it's going to be a battle where somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And in the past, I had associated this with me having to take a loss and that feeling very disempowering or my voice not being heard. So I would really avoid having difficult conversations with people, especially like romantic partners, where conversations and communication is critical to having a healthy relationship. And so to move through that, I've luckily attracted a partner who has encouraged me to move past my fears and has shown me that it's safe to go into these difficult conversations and has created a space where I'm not going to be attacked or belittled and my voice can be heard. And I don't have to win or lose. It's just hearing my perspective of a situation, and I could create change. It took me courage to actually be able to have these conversations with my partner. And the courage is the key here, I think, to moving through this resistance. So we can look at this with a painting now, and we can see that in a painting, when we don't know how it's going to turn out, or we're scared to try this new technique, or we're really nervous about the client that we're creating a commission work for, and we're worried about pleasing them. So it creates all of this resistance to getting started, and then we start overthinking it. And for me, this will show up as a freeze response. So I show up to the painting and I freeze, and I'm like, I can't do anything, and I'm just totally paralyzed, right? I can feel that even in my body as this tingling sensation and tense energy like arising around my throat and my arms, which is really interesting to observe. The other way this can show up is just doing something super sporadically and not coming at it with this presence and intention. And sometimes that is my approach to actually moving through this. So the freeze response can be tackled in a lot of different ways, but that is one way to do it. I want to take some attention to the painting behind me because this is actually an example of where I did that. So in the background, it's actually quite chaotic, right? And I had a lot going on there before I got to this piece, right? And what it was is I was facing the resistance of actually doing something because I was afraid that I could do it wrong. I was afraid that I could fuck it up. And I think the birthplace of our resistance is the fear that we could do it wrong and the fear that something bad will happen. It's interesting because when we think about paintings, there's a very low threshold, or when we think about art and paintings, who cares if it gets fucked up? I mean, can't we just like go do it again? Of course, there's always the argument that, you only have so much money, and so you don't know if you could afford to go get another canvas and blah, blah, blah. And that's a story that we tell ourselves too to prevent us from moving into action and get us trapped in our own thoughts that spiral us into a hole of non creation. But for a lot of people, that's not even an issue. So why not just try it and fuck it up and see what comes out of that? Because for me, at least, even with these hard conversations, it's like I was really bad at them at first. And I was just saying things that were really hurtful and and not really coming at it with a lot of intention and conscious awareness because I was on the battlefield still. Had my armor on. And like with a painting, it can look the same, where I'm just throwing shit at this canvas, like really being a treating this canvas like it is my bitch, and not in a respectful way, not in like a conscious kink way, in a way where I am totally fucking terrified of this painting and terrified that I'm gonna do something awful. So to avoid the potential outcome of something bad happening, I just throw daggers at it essentially. And that's kind of what happened in the background of this painting. Uh but the result then is I'll take some space from the work. I'll take some space and I'll realize like, oh, like that feels better maybe. I don't have to throw daggers though. And at the end, I can see it's actually quite beautiful. And so after having that first hard conversation, I might realize, I don't really need to wear so much armor because it's safe to have this conversation. It's safe to say the things that I want to say, and I can trust that even if my voice isn't heard, that doesn't mean anything about me. And that doesn't mean that my safety is at risk, right? And so after that first experience, I might notice a little bit less resistance. And I might come back in another situation where I want to say what's on my mind or have a conversation that really obviously needs to be had, but is difficult. And I might come at it with a bit of a different approach, a bit more open heartedness. And so that's kind of how I do with paintings too. And as I went up layer by layer, I went at it with more love. And then eventually I thought, wow, this is so beautiful. It would be even more beautiful if I put a beautiful body portrait on there. And so that's what I did. And so with that layer, we can just see the contrast from the beginning of this fear of moving through this resistance to get started. And then after I moved through that really uncomfortable phase, I was able to come at it with this conscious love. And and I think that the contrast is kind of what makes this painting beautiful, which I think is also what makes life so beautiful. Um, the point of all of this is to teach you that it is safe to move through the resistance, and how you do that can sometimes look really, really chaotic at first. And it might not feel good at first. It might feel like you're experiencing proof of your limiting beliefs that are telling you that it's not safe to move through this resistance. But on the other side of that, you might find that something really beautiful will come out of it, and that the resistance no longer lives where it used to live as you practice moving through this. So, I hope this was helpful for any artist and anybody in general who wants to apply this information into their life, because nothing is only applicable to one area. Nothing is only applicable in one context. So you can take this framework and really apply it in any area of your life that you're feeling a lot of resistance. So, sending you lots of love, and thank you for watching.